Welcome. We are back. Another day in the market. What's up, JSOB, Electrician, D, the guy, Poop Around It, Dave, I am Zeke. How you all doing? Hit the like button on your way in. And nothing too crazy today. I feel like yesterday, if you watched the stream, apart from like the overall market, I really only looked at Fisker and CLOV. So tonight, I want to look at a lot more of like individual stocks. Maybe do some take requests. It depends on how long I spent on the market, but nothing much like changed today. So a lot of what I said last night in terms of the market, you can probably just go back and watch. I had a pretty long segment on the overall market last night. You can kind of just go see that. A lot of it's pretty much the same thing. But yeah, apart from that, crypto, we're going to take a look at that. Other markets. So it's going to be a good time. And I want to look at some large cap stocks too. Just a lot of craziness going on really everywhere. There was FOMC minutes today. It was a very quiet afternoon in the market, just going sideways. And then tomorrow I think is CPI, and then Friday bank earnings. So a lot of different things going on, and we're at a huge area. And if you saw the title of the stream, I'm going to be talking about why there might be a big move coming in the market very soon. It just feels like we're in this holding period before the storm approaches, and we'll talk about what that could also mean. So I'll just keep it as that for right now. To get started with crypto, Bitcoin kind of hasn't changed much. You bounced up a little bit, but nothing really too different. You might be having a little bit of a breakout right now on the 4-hour chart. You can see this channel breakout, kind of back tested it as well, pretty much off the same lows you made in the beginning of the month about 10 days ago. So a small bounce. Overall 18.6k is like the main support. You're still above that for right now. So you're just hoping that something like this happens and not this, because if this happens, I think like 14k is like the next support. So who knows? Like, it would just suck if it's been consolidating since June. It would really suck for all this consolidation just to be for even lower prices. Unless you want lower prices, then I guess that would be good news for you. But right now it's just kind of in this nothing period where just waiting for like the next major move. You're just the same price you've been at for a long time. ETH is still holding support. It's back testing previous resistance as a support, but this is starting to look a little bit bearish to me short term. I mean, if we kind of look at it like this, it's like a bearish pennant, and you're kind of like may have already broken down, and now you're like back testing the breakdown. So like more short term, it looks a little bit different, and not in a good way. So you just got to hope that this like mini breakdown doesn't take you under this like $1,200 level, but that's like a textbook bearish pennant in a downtrend, so it is a little bit concerning. So keep an eye on that as well. Moving into other markets, the US 10-year pulling back a little bit off this same resistance around 4%. I guess it's a very psychological level. Pretty much a bearish engulfing candle today. Now you're really just retesting. You could draw this trend line in a couple different ways, but it looks like, in my opinion, just kind of retesting it. I really wouldn't drag it down over here, because then you're missing like look at how many times it just bounced off this one line. So I think it's a little bit better to look at it like this. So you're getting close to testing that again. This is really a question of, do you break above this level first, or do you break down from that trend line first? So again, just like Bitcoin and kind of the market too, even bonds, you're just at this really big inflection point, and that's really just the big story. Like, the SPY is kind of like this, but the opposite. The SPY looks, something like that. That's what the SPY kind of looks like right now. But I don't know, it's different volume, and it's obviously a different asset class. So we'll get to that in a second. Really quickly, crude oil futures continuing to pull back. I guess if we just extend this, you kind of are just like breaking down from this upsloping channel. I wouldn't even call it a bear flag. I would say it's too large for a bear flag, but overall you broke out of the larger structure, which is this wedge. So we talked about it last night. Maybe just get a back test and you run up again. But this is definitely like a shift in momentum from what you've been seeing really since this top in June. Then we have energy, which is holding this 79 zone successfully. I think this dates back to like, yeah, highs from 2018, even a couple of highs from March of this year, kind of these lows from September. So you're just holding this area for right now. If you can't hold it, you've got some gap fills as you can see below. If you continue to hold it, then you've got some resistance up towards like, 83, 84. That is energy. Gold is not really doing much. Bullish engulfing candle today, but back under the very critical 1677 support. Silver testing this 18.87 support level, got a little bounce off of it. Larger pattern looks like an ascending broadening wedge to me, which is bearish. The Hang Seng Index, I don't think we looked at this last night, has been really just kind of dumping lately. I mean, if we really zoom out, like this whole entire thing has been selling off, but even more so in like the last week, it's dropped, I mean, from the high to low almost like 10%. And you are at, I think, your lowest point since 2008, 2011. Almost, if you break this low at around like 16.2K, then it would be your lowest point since 09. So a little bit scary. I mean, we could probably draw this trend line. Maybe you bounce off this, like, your last 3 major like crashes or bear markets for this, you did hold this trend line and you're like very close to approaching this. So this is probably going to be something we talk about for the next couple of months, looking at the Hang Seng Index. And then the dollar currency, see, that is absolutely insane. If we look at it on the weekly, if we go to the daily, still looks insane. You've got some hidden bullish divergence. But if it really does start doing something like this, that would be bearish, because then you'd be making a lower high for the first time in a while if you can't get above this high on this rally. So keep an eye on that as well. And now let's move on to the market. Again, I'm kind of just doing this whole entire like intro segment a little bit quicker tonight because I want to spend some more time on individual tickers and even more so stocks. But yeah, just an update. You had a small bounce in the morning. Let's go to the intraday. You had this bounce in the morning, and then you just kind of went into a range all day. You had the 2 p.m. Minutes from the FOMC meeting, I think in September. Didn't really do much. It looks like you went up a little bit, which was actually about 0.5%, not bad, but then you ended up giving it back, and then you kind of broke down from this little range right into the close, like minutes before the close. Futures are slightly green. So heading into tomorrow, you're kind of hanging on by a thread. This little level around 355.7 is like this like kind of last support that you're still a little bit above, but you still did close under this low from the end of September. So that is a little bit concerning. So you're just, again, this whole entire zone over here, you're barely hanging on to it. We will see if the market can continue to hold it. Honestly, I don't think it does, because now this is like, again, another lower close. This is your lowest close on the SPY for the whole entire year. You are well under this zone. You're even under this high from September 2nd, 2020. You're under all the big levels, in my opinion. I think it could even be argued that the S&P 500 has already broken down. The only if is like somehow you end up holding this like little thread of support under you. You're really like walking on a tightrope right now. Somehow if you hold that, then yeah, sure, you're fine. But I mean, what are the chances that you don't drop like another 1/3% before completely rallying to the upside? We'll see. Like, I mean, to be fair, if there is anywhere where you might have like a technical area for like a short-term bottom, it could be here. But again, just the way the price action looks to me, like, I think really you should have gotten it off of this second bottom. You should have continued going higher. And if we even go toward to the 15-minute, you had a bullish shark there as well. You had your 2 lows, but you just failed to really get continuation off that second low. The bears kind of regained control for right now, it seems. So I think this is more likely than this because of the price action from today. That just shows me no confirmation from the bulls. You had the variables you needed. You were at the support. I'm sure you're oversold on certain time frames. You even had some bullish divergence on lower time frames, but all of that just really didn't mean much. So we'll see. Obviously, Zeke just put in the chat, CPI tomorrow can shake things up in either direction, but this seems to me like we've had this really 2 or 3 days of just like a holding period. And then I think, overall, like we haven't really moved that much in the past few days. Like, wrong button. Oh, I delete this. All right. Past few days, it's been about like a 1-2% range, which, overall that's kind of a lot, but for the market we're in right now, it's not compared to what we were seeing before. So it just looks like this to me. If you really break things down, let's delete all of this, make it a little bit clearer. You're selling off. We talked about this bear flag. I warned about it last week on the only stream last week. You broke down from your bear flag, and now you're also breaking the bottom of your bear flag. And I think Bulkowski talks about this a lot on both bull flag and bear flags. The real price action and the real move on like the breakdown and the breakout actually could happen after you kind of cross like the final point. So for an example, yes, you did get your breakdown of the bear flag like right over here, but Bulkowski says, and I'm taking this loosely, I don't know if there's like literal text that he says this, but just from things I've heard from other streamers, like once you break this point, kind of like the bottom of the pattern on a bear flag, that's when like the real like price action starts to begin. And then if we were to flip it and look at it as like a bull flag, it would be like once you break above like the top of the flag, if that makes sense. So once you break above the top of a flag on a bull flag or below the bottom of a flag on a bear flag, that's when you kind of get like your continuation move. But if there's any area where maybe like you could get some sort of reversal, this chart's inverted right now, but let's make it back to normal. You would think maybe it could be over there. So let me just put all my lines back on my chart. That's really where you're at. If we do really zoom in here, it pretty much is a bearish engulfing candle as well. So again, if you go back and watch last night's stream, that's kind of the main point. I think we can continue to head a little bit lower, and then maybe we develop some classic bullish divergence. We get the volume signal in a week or two. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, again, last night's stream, go to the market segment, seek to the timestamps. You can always find them in the pinned comments or using the scroll bar or on Twitter or in the Discord YouTube alerts channel. There's a lot of places where you can find the timestamps in all of my streams, so you can go to exactly the part that you want to see. So I think this is like the type of price action I prefer to see. You get that move lower, then you get your classic bullish divergence, your volume spikes up over here, you're at your lower Bollinger Band. Those are the variables I want to see. Not just, hanging on by a thread with a bearish engulfing candle and kind of weak volume. So that's really like my main thoughts overall for the SPY. Again, very similar to last night, just kind of more confirmation of what I was talking about. The VIX itself, like 2 doji candles in a row. It's still under the major resistance in the upper 30s, so you haven't broken out yet. But again, like just look at the price action. Just like you're getting those lower highs on the market, you're getting these higher lows on the VIX. And you're getting these leading up to a major resistance. The psychology of that is a higher probability for a breakout to the upside, because the bears on all of these lows are not able to create lower lows. So if you look at the trend analysis, this is pointing towards, maybe it's not right now, maybe it's something like this if somehow the market kind of double bottoms here. But overall, it's kind of implying as long as you continue to make higher lows, that eventually you get that breakout, and that's when you get like an actual, I don't want to say crash, but like if we just zoom out here, once you get above this point, there's like nothing there. There's all this consolidation down over here, but there's nothing here when you get above like that 40 point. Above 40 on the VIX, I think is a very scary area for the market, at least short term. I think long term, that's actually an opportunity. But short term, of course, it could be a little bit frightening. So that's the VIX. The Qs were flat today, nothing really to update there. Very similar candle as yesterday, very similar to the SPY. Russell, again, really just nothing for me to update here. So we can really spend a lot more time looking at like individual stocks tonight. The ARK ETF, however, did outperform, up 1%. And again, this is very interesting. We talked about this $35 level yesterday on the ARK ETF from your 2018 and COVID crash lows in 2020. It's pretty much your low from May and June of this year as well. Two large lower wicked candles off this level. Today's kind of like a bullish pin bar as well. The potential for, I think, triple classic bullish divergence if this MACD crosses over to green. So, you do have like kind of this ugliness, in my opinion, from a technical standpoint on the SPY, but I think the ARK looks pretty decent. And it's like so weird because they're not that unalike. They're kind of similar, at least short term. Longer term, they're very unlike because the ARK's all the way down over here. But again, the context, like the SPY is failing to hold its support over here and it's under it. The ARK ETF is holding its support. It's green on a red day for the market. You're getting a hammer candle. You could even probably start drawing out like a wedge or something. It's just these slight differences could turn into a very big difference in the next couple of weeks if you can successfully hold this level. But again, one bad day, you fall down a few percent on the ARK ETF, which is very easy when the market's down. You break that support, and that's when it gets very concerning because you break this support. And if we zoom out here, there's really nothing major under it. I mean, you could really zoom in here and look at that 2020 low, but that's kind of close. Like maybe you get like 33 or something like that, but like under the $30 area, like you just haven't seen those prices since 2017. That just shows you in the last 5 years, a lot of these mid caps and growth names have not been this low in the last 5 years, and some of them literally ever because they're at all-time lows. So we're going to look at a lot of those types of names tonight on the stream. Let's get started with the classic Fisker and CLOV. Fisker was up today. which is good because we did talk about a lot of variables last night, and you did get a bullish pin bar, again, very similar to the ARK ETF. Bullish pin bar today, the potential for classic bullish divergence. So if you go over to the 4-hour, I kind of have this drawn a little bit weirdly, but if we make it a little bit cleaner, you can see you're perfectly bouncing off of this demand line. Beautiful bounce, 4-hour and daily classic bullish divergence. These are variables I like to see. Also, like, I'm not a huge fan of charting the RSI, but 2 lows at around the same price in the RSI, maybe it gives you that room for like a double bottom. Who knows how much that matters on the relative strength index, but not bad. If we go down to the 1-hour as well, you're in this larger descending running wedge. We could even create like a shorter pattern here that you just broke out of. So variables are starting to kind of align, at least for a short-term bounce, in my opinion. A nice little oversold bounce heading into earnings in a few weeks. And again, if you get the short-term bounce and you can hold that bounce, then we have this, and this is one of the largest wedges you'll be able to find on any chart right now. Well, that might not be true, but at least a lot of the charts I talk about, this is a very large wedge. It's been in development for about a year now, and it could go lower, but if we get this oversold bounce, you could break out of it pretty easily. You don't have to go up too much, at least compared to how much it just sold off. So keeping an eye out for that. CLOV, good and bad. The bad is it wasn't able to break out today. We talked about this wedge last night. Also, the bad was it was down 5%, but the good is like not a lot of technical damage. Still very similar. You still have that bullish engulfing from yesterday. You didn't even get a bearish engulfing today. Your MACD is continuing to wane towards green. You're still above yesterday and Monday's low, so not a great day for CLOV, but not a lot of technical damage. And again, if you can successfully hold this, that'll be then like the third bounce off this 150-ish area. And then maybe you get this breakout over here as well. This is a very long channel. This started like, I think, with earnings. You've just been kind of completely trending in this channel. So keep an eye out for that. Really nothing much apart from that. Let's go take a look at 2 other names. Let's look at AMC first. The wedge really didn't do much. You could probably just extend it at this point. The demand line might be a little bit like this. That might be a little bit of a better wedge. Actually looks pretty neat, to be honest. I have to sneeze. But you're kind of testing these lows from May. Looks like you're slightly under them. I guess you have a little bit of support around 520-ish. You can see this low over here, and then this low is over there. So a little bit of support, about 50-60 cents beneath the current price. Maybe it continues to wedge out a little bit more, but hopefully you can get a breakout above that 522 level. Classic bullish divergence confirms. Again, a lot of this stuff can really start lining up. It'll take some time, but you're getting like your fully developed patterns. You're getting the wedges with 5 touches. This pretty much, as of right now, just made its 5th touch. It's not doing a great job of hanging on to the demand line, but still somewhat there. A lot of daily and 4-hour classic bullish divergence combos, as you saw in Fisker as well. The guy in the chat saying Fisker kind of sus, rejected that 10 level twice on the weekly like CLOV did before going a lot lower. Very true, but Fisker has gone a lot lower since $10. I think even maybe more important than 10 is $8. That's probably more of a rough breakdown level in my opinion. But yeah, still just keeping an eye on that larger wedge. But yeah, I talked about it last night on stream. There's no really major support anywhere where Fisker is, so it's just a question of can it develop one with the oversold conditions and hopefully at some point a catalyst. Because in this market, without a catalyst, most stocks are just selling off. But that's AMC, and then GameStop consolidating here. This is something maybe you can keep an eye on. This is a 4-hour chart. Got this triangle pattern, just see which way it breaks. I feel like it's a little bit large to call it a bearish pennant, but maybe you could. Really all that matters is which way it breaks. So not really a fully complete pattern yet, but those are your levels and it is a pattern, so just keep an eye on it. Pretty much looks the same on the daily. I honestly wouldn't even think this is a great looking wedge. But you're clearly developing some support around $24. Hopefully that holds. And then what else? Let's look at some large caps now. Let's start off with Tesla, which is testing lows from July of this year. Really in general, this is a big support area for Tesla. I do think it could get a bounce off this level. I mean, to be fair, like it hasn't bounced at all since really this top on September 21st. You had like a couple days over here, but apart from that, like almost straight down Well, you're finally out of support because you really didn't have much support over here. You just didn't. Maybe a little bit here, and then you tested it for like 2 days, but apart from this one level, once you broke that 272 level, just wasn't much support, and you just kind of went straight down. I mean, since that top, it's been a 33% decline. It's now oversold on the daily. I'm not going to count this because you were barely oversold. I'd say for the first time since March of 2021, which was all the way over here. So oversold at support. Hopefully it holds it. I think it could bounce off this level. You know, I could be wrong, but if there is a area for Tesla to bounce, I think it would make sense for it to be here. I don't know how much, but this is probably the first point I would say that I think Tesla is looking a little bit bullish short term. For the first time in a while. Speaking of Elon Musk, Twitter had that huge move, about a week ago, and it's just been consolidating ever since. But this could actually be an interesting setup towards really the next couple of days. I don't really know how you would like to chart this. This line is pretty clear, I think, something like that. The demand line is very confusing. I mean, maybe you do this and then it's already kind of broken down. I don't know, but this is just, you know, it's very textbook stuff. You have a big move, now you're consolidating, and then the next big move in either direction could be large as well. Let's see if there's any like historical price action here. Yeah, 52 is exactly where you topped out, and of course technicals did not make Twitter go up 22% in a day, but again, this is why we use technicals, because they can tell you how much something might go up or down. Look how it perfectly hit that 52 level, at least during market hours. I don't know what happened after hours, but 52, I mean, look at that level. Look at this high over here from April. Look at this high from the end of last year. Look at this high from October of 2020. I don't know if there's anything else. A little bit of resistance from 2015. There's, you know, no coincidence why it hit that 52 level and pulled back. So it's just kind of sandwiched in between two levels right now. We can look at some chip stocks now. NVIDIA on the daily, it broke under this big 126 support level, and now it's testing a breakdown. It's actually already under the March lows of 2021. There is nothing here. There is nothing here at all, really. He went straight up. I mean, this just looks like .com bubble type stuff, to be honest with you. Really down to like 76 bucks. There's just no major support unless you can somehow get back above this low over here. So that's a little bit scary. Let's look at AMD now, which broke out of a huge falling wedge to the downside. This is something like, you know, which sucks. You are kind of testing this $58 support. You can see these highs from May of 2020, but it looks, again, very similar to a SPY. Like, you are slightly under it. It's like the SPY's at a huge level, AMD's at a huge level, NVIDIA just broke it. Like, if there were levels for us to hold, it should have, I'm not saying it should have been, but I think from a technical standpoint, it could have been these levels, but now we're just seeing that you're not holding them. It just seems like we've already been selling off, and then it was kind of a relief. We finally got to major support for the market, but it's just not holding, and it just feels like we're not bouncing off these major levels. It feels like we're breaking down from these major levels, which is the type of stuff you can see in a bear market. Continuation to the downside with a failure to bounce off support. It's something we really didn't see during that 2021 bull market. You would pretty much bounce off every single support. Now it's like your supports, you like test them for like 2 days, and then you get a bear flag, and then you go lower. So it's just a very, very different environment. We can move on to some other large caps. Amazon. This one's a little bit weird. I honestly don't have a very clear reading on this. I think down towards 102 is a huge level. You can see these highs from 2018, 2019, these lows from June of this year. So I think 102 is a more technical level. It's just kind of really in the middle of nowhere. It's trying to hang on to some support around like 112 short term. But again, you know, it's just not really doing a great job, especially yesterday. It went all the way down to 110. So, you know, I think it's really 102 is like the next level, unless you somehow like break out of this like pattern before then. So again, just like, I'm just not seeing what I would want to see for a reversal. Like overall, yes, you're starting to get oversold in some names, but the larger reversal moves are just really not there right now. We can take a look at Apple. This one looks different. You have hidden bullish divergence. You have a bullish Gartley. This is a huge moment for Apple from a technical standpoint, where we are right now. And obviously that means it's a huge moment for the market, which we've already talked about this stream, but it has such a large weighting in many indices. This is a big level, 138. All right, so one, it's your bullish Gartley, one, it's your literally lowest from like, you know, this downtrend in last week. So any potential for a double bottom would have to be here. You've got a little bit of divergence, and then you could see this low from September of last year, high from April last year, and then high from the end of 2020. Huge level for Apple. Go over to the weekly. Let's chart this level. It is very, very important. You break it again. Like, I'm not a fan of doing this, but just for fun, just imagine. This would be very scary. This would be very, very scary. But again, you break under this B point around around 129. That's your action magnet move. Break this. This is possible. And there's not a lot of support in between that. It doesn't really feel that realistic for Apple to drop down to $70 unless something horrible happened to the company. And it doesn't feel realistic, in my opinion, no matter how bad things are right now. It doesn't feel realistic for the SPY to drop down here either. But if we're just going to take technical analysis for what it is, that's just what the chart is. It doesn't feel like it's going to happen, in my opinion. But there's always a chance, and that's what's kind of like scary to me, honestly. Like, it's there. It really is there. You're at your final wave of this harmonic. The final wave just hasn't happened yet. And if that final wave does happen, again, these are the types of moves that create like generational transfers of wealth. I know I've been using that word a lot on the stream lately, but this is the type of stuff we are literally talking about if these patterns play out. And I don't even like using these patterns like this. I've said this many times. I like using patterns when they are fully complete, but we're just looking at this as in like a what if standpoint. I really hope in a year that I'm not being like, wow, we looked at this on October 12th of last year all the way up over here, and now we're down over here. But at the same time, if we were, you best believe I would be putting out a swing on a 2-3 year long bullish bat on Apple. Not financial advice, but it's just very crazy that this is even a potential right now. That's all I'm saying. This is a potential, and the fact that it is insane to me. And then if we just kind of create like this trend line, like again, huge make or break area, this is it. Like, do you hold it or do you not? And if the SPY breaks down, you probably won't. So the crazy part about where we're at right now is like, if we can't hold these areas, which are the major areas, then things could get a lot worse than they already are. And that's what, like, again, I feel like it just doesn't feel not possible but realistic because of just, again, like the market cap change from here to here is insane for Apple. I don't even want to do the math, somebody else could do it, but the market cap change for that type of a move would be crazy. So from like an on paper standpoint, it doesn't really make sense realistically short term, definitely not short term, but even like long term, it's like, I think you need some major economic downfall to even have that happen. But if some of these charts are correct, and they have been correct in the past, even on the most bullish of charts, and I'm not saying bullish like they had to go up, but like bullish in the sense that they only went up, such as the ARK ETF, like, again, repeating the same point on the stream, this is where Apple and the SPY are. What if they do what the ARK did? And they're very different than the ARK ETF. I'm not even trying to compare the two on paper, but I'm just saying, like, it's the same chart. It's just the same chart, but it's where the ARK was when it kind of started really selling off. So this is just something we can refer to, just take out the name ARK from this. Just look at this as a chart, look at the candles on it, look at the pattern on it, and then compare it to the other charts like the SPY and the Apple that we're looking at. And it just really makes you think, like, what is happening right now? And if we break these levels, what could continue to happen? And this is something I didn't even really think about until this point, because I didn't even notice all of the potential for these like multi-wave patterns. And the guy with a very quick analysis saying market cap would drop to 433,931. So yeah, I don't know. That's 400 million though, no? How's that possible? Like, how is that literally possible though? Market cap would drop to 400 million. What do you mean by that? This Apple market cap is in the trillions now. I forgot to have my tea. Apple market cap's 2 trillion. How would it drop to 400 million? Oh, all right, great. You got me. There we go. Can somebody actually find out though? If Apple market cap was 400 million, like there's probably like a Great Depression part 2. Like I read the numbers out and then I realized that's like in the millions and it's like, how is that, you know, even possible? Maybe if like Samsung takes over or something, I don't know. But yeah, it's just crazy to look at a lot of these charts. That's pretty much what I've got for right now. So if anybody else wants me to look at some charts, drop it in the chat and I'll take a look. Let's get those likes up a little bit. You know, I'm not trying to complain, but they're a little bit on the lower end tonight. You know, if you haven't hit that like button yet, just maybe consider it. I'm not forcing you to do anything. I'm just trying to persuade you to. Dave says, wouldn't it be about half what it is now? Yeah. Zeke says, it's so crazy but important to be aware. All right, TSCO. It's in this range between 182 and 208. It's towards the top of the range. This is a very big level. Just see which way it breaks. PayPal. Oh, this is a very messy chart. Those are some big levels. You're in between them. Probably testing a demand line right now. Descending broadening wedge. Gap fills to the upside. Next support 75. CLNE. Support levels are drawn. Potential inverse head and shoulders if it starts reversing here. That neckline with 61. That's really it. That's like the only pattern. Again, that potential classic bullish divergence is everywhere. I think on the SPY as well. I do think probably most of them will confirm at some point, but I feel like we could go lower before they do. MMAT, I have no clue what happened today. It was up quite a bit. These are kind of the levels. Really nothing else could be said apart from that. I mean, this is kind of crazy. Like, there probably was news that led to this, but just the fact that prior to the news, you were already literally testing a breakout yesterday is pretty interesting. And if there wasn't news, that's way more interesting. But pretty much broke out of this. For whatever reason, you went up to test this level. I don't know if something happened after hours, but you did this gap fill around 115. Go to extended. It's pretty much at 109. A little bit higher. JSOB, name some of them. I don't really know any off the top of my head. Coin. This is an important trend line that you want to hold. Maybe you could kind of create a triangle like this, but there's a lot of unfilled area. Even if you look at it like this, it already kind of broke out and maybe back tested it. I think just in general, hopefully you hold that trend line. More short term, there could be like some inverse head and shoulders stuff going on. It's now bounced around 65 for like 3 days. Not bad. I mean, you could even maybe that. It's a little bit of a choppy chart, but like not bad as long as you can hold this lower $60 area, in my opinion. Danny says Apple will be, I think that will be what, 600 billion, 612 billion. if that bullish bat forms fully. AA bullish engulfing candle today. I like this. I mean, this is like interesting price action where you're not really just bear flagging up, but it's like consolidation, move up, consolidation, and then just see which way it breaks. You know, I don't know if it's breaking up or down next, but you know, I prefer this than like this. But you know, it's not completely out of the woods yet. Probably try this a little bit differently, but down sloping channel. 30-ish area seems like a major support. And 56 resistance, a lot of highs at 56 historically. Huge volume today for whatever reason. CENX bullish engulfing candle, also another one with a lot of volume. I don't know if there was some news today. Are these the aluminum names you're talking about, electrician? Because yeah, big volume on both of them. Bullish engulfing candle today here as well. Nice bounce again off of 535-ish. That dates back to some lows from 2019. Yeah, I mean, as long as you can hold that, it looks decent. Really not much else to say. There are some levels. White House news? Okay, that would make sense. Kramer talking about Bed Bath & Beyond. Oh gosh. Somebody tell Mehdi. I mean, there's some big support at 461-ish. Another one with the bullish engulfing today. Interesting. A lot of the takers we're looking at had bullish engulfing today when the SPY was, I think the SPY had a bearish engulfing candle today was red. Hidden bullish divergence almost confirmed. I mean, honestly, like, there are quite a few variables here. It's kind of like breaking out of a wedge. Support wedge divergence. Yeah, not bad from a technical standpoint. As long as you hold the mid $4 level. So we'll see if it can. All right. So that'll probably be it for tonight. Solid stream. I'm glad we looked at a lot of individual names as we did last night. But again, if you didn't watch last night's stream, a lot more in depth on the overall market. Not only did I have like a much more in depth overall market technical segment, but I also spent a lot of time with Levi, who talked about like this, you know, paper that he made. It's in the Fundamental Trades channel, the Discord. I just pinned it. Talked a lot about the macro stuff going on in the market, a lot of educational stuff there as well. Highly recommend going back and watching last night's stream. I think it was a lot more informational than tonight's stream. Tonight's stream was more just like analysis that I had to like catch up on. Check my message about SPXU. See if there's a bearish harmonic forming on SPXU as inverse to the SPY bullish harmonic. So this is like, I guess, the opposite of the S&P 500. And you're saying, see if there's a bearish harmonic forming on it. This looks very different. I'm just trying to think back to the SPY one. Where did it start? COVID crash, March 2020. This just tracks it like just not as like inversely parallel. If that makes, again, I failed geometry in high school. That might be a complete incorrect way of saying it, but like even though it's opposite, it doesn't seem like a good opposite. Does that make sense? It's just like the SPY doesn't even look like, even if we were to invert this chart, the SPY doesn't look like that. So yeah, you know, really can't get any harmonic with that. But this is really crazy. Like if we look at this, I mean, this is, I know you guys already talked about like the inverse ETFs and everything today, but like if you look at the fibs, like this hasn't even gotten close to a 23% retrace from the COVID crash low. I know it's the high on this chart, but from the COVID crash low to the all-time high, hasn't even made a 23% retrace. And then you look at the SPY, it's made a 50% retrace kind of. So that leverage, you know, kind of, I don't know how what really it is, but it's very different. But more short term, you know, this seems like, just like how it seems like the SPY has like the variables for breaking down, seems like this has like the variables for breaking out. Look at that slightly. Again, these details are so important when it comes to breakout and breakdowns. We already talked about this on the VIX, the higher lows. These little details, they really can make a huge difference when you start learning about trend analysis. Just these little, like they kind of look like the same lows, but the fact that it's a little higher each time just shows that the bears lost control in every single scenario. Well, the bears for the short TF, which would be bulls in the real market. Everything I'm saying right now is kind of inversed. And then like, even if we look at a more short term, it's like you have like this little inverse head and shoulders type thing going on, or cup and handle. So, you know, just these little details kind of, I think, increase the probability of this breaking out. And then the little details on the S&P 500, I think, kind of increase the probability of it heading lower. So we will see what happens. But just like I said, you're at that final point. So if there's any slight chance that you have an area where maybe, at least just for a little bit, you kind of reverse, which would mean up for the market and down on this chart, it could be here. Like, but it would have to happen like now. Maybe something like CPI could, you know, be the determining factor in either direction. It probably might be, not only just because smart CPI, just because we've been testing this level for like 2-3 days. I think it's about to kind of really, you're probably going to get a bigger move in either direction off this level very soon. So we're just at that waiting point. So we'll see what happens. All right, I'll be live again tomorrow night, most likely. Make sure to watch that if you want another update on how everything's going. Thank you for watching the streams. Apologies for all the inconsistency in the last couple of months. Just a lot of different things happening, and we're back, so it's all good. But make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, join the Discord. The link's in the description. Premium sale this month, 10% off for the entire month. So if you're waiting for your paycheck or something, whatever, you have until the end of the month to take advantage of the sale. If you're interested in like what's in premium and everything and you don't even know, it's the pinned chat or the first link in the description. And when you go to the sign up page, I have a few links that'll help explain things. And of course, if you ever have any questions, let me know. All right. So thank you for watching the stream. I appreciate all the support, especially in times like these. It's out of my control at the end of the day, but keep learning, and there's going to be another side to all of this, which is going to be probably euphoria. Just look at the market psychology. What is it called? Cycle chart. This. Just look at these. You know, it's not really the technical analysis that I really use, but just simple psychology. Like, we're somewhere in here. I don't know exactly where it is, but we're somewhere in here. And then eventually this part's going to happen again. These things take time. So the people who are patient will be the ones who end up winning in the end. All right. So thank you for watching the stream. See you in the Discord tomorrow and on the stream tomorrow night. Have a good night. Peace out.
the gentleman.